Welcome to Urban Legends with your hosts, Smartwatch, Neil and Chris, and Luggage.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Urban Legends, the podcast about urban legends, which is a hit across the English-speaking world, unsurprisingly. I am semi-sentient Tamagotchi, Chris Flynn, and with me, as always, is packet soup aficionado, Mr.
Neil Herbert.
Hi Neil, how you doing? How's your week been?
Yeah, been okay. Been sort of like looking to track down one of the early cup of soups.
Yeah, what flavour?
Yeah, Fray Bentos pie flavour.
Fray Bentos pie flavour. God, that would be nice, wouldn't it?
So doesn't say which pie, funnily enough.
No. Just pie flavour, yeah. Pie style flavour. So what got you into the packet soup game?
Well, it's just like any collectible, isn't it? It's you start.
It's
off
like
with...
very desirable.
Well, no, exactly.
Increases in value.
Well, I am hoping. It's a bit of a retirement package. I'm hoping. Because I used to invest heavily in cryptocurrency, but I took a bit of a bath there. Yeah. So I think, my backup side hustle of, soup collection.
Your second bedroom is just full of boxes, isn't it, of packets that you can barely move in there.
Yeah, I mean, some would call it hoarding, but
some call it dangerous. Some call it a dangerous window into your psyche. But
yeah, well, no, it's, after I cleared out all those Beanie Babies, I had to fill it up with something.
Well, after the Beanie Baby billionaire turned out to be
that's
a bit ropey.
That collection from the 90s turns out wasn't my retirement either.
So
I don't always invest wisely, but I do.
But you invest. You're investing. That's it.
Yeah,
that's good. That's what the economy needs. You've got got to keep the money moving around.
I've diversified my portfolio, so I'm hoping this is the one that's going to pay out. Yeah.
My favourite packet soup flavour is beef and tomato.
That's classic. Yeah.
It's a classic, isn't it?
Yeah.
I suppose to the likes of you, I seem a bit like some kind of country bumpkin.
It's a bit basic, It's a favourite for a reason.
So, do you like the ones which have got like bits of sort of pasta in, which doesn't cook properly and it's quite horrible?
Al dente.
Al dente.
That's what you want, isn't it?
Yeah.
You can kind of like file your teeth on it. That's always good. I quite like the sort of Japanese ones as well. They'll put, like a matcha tea or,
miso.
Yeah. Or like, candy floss flavoured Kit Kat flavoured soup.
Candy floss octopus.
Yeah. Hey, don't knock it till you try it.
Oh, absolutely not.
Well, that's the other thing, it's, for the low price of £1.15, it's a window into another culture sometimes.
Yeah, you go to all the specialist shops, don't you?
I do,
Yeah. Go to like the African supermarkets and get dolmade curry flavour. Peanutty.
Goat soup.
Goat soup flavour.
Goat jerk soup.
That sounds really nice. Plantain flavour. It's not great, is it?
No, it's not really. It's
a bit boring.
You combine it with something, I guess.
Yeah, so do you normally have some bread on the side, or are you just straight?
No, I don't like to adulterate the taste with bread.
Really? So are you on mainly a liquid diet? Is that what the diary is about?
Yeah. I mean, it's not always easy on the bowels, but
the heart wants what the heart wants, I guess.
Precisely, yeah.
Okay, well, thanks for that little window into the exciting and growing world of packet soup hoarding.
Well, everything else is going down. You wait and see.
They last a while as well, don't they?
Well, that's the thing is, you get a couple of years on the expiry date. So if nothing else, it'll keep you fed.
You keep them in your bunker in your garden.
So minimal amount of hot water needed to turn them into soup. So very efficient cooking wise as well.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
So you're a sentient Tamagotchi then?
Semi-sentient Tamagotchi, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, definitely semi-sentient generally, but
yeah.
So do you have like an owner, or how does that work?
So I did have an owner, but I got in around 1998. I just got chucked in the back of a drawer.
Yeah.
And I was ill, and through necessity and time, I learned how to give myself the Tamagotchi medicines, which you'd normally which Joan would have to. Then I learned to do the Tamagotchi feeding. And then, so for, 2 decades, I sat there. And it's very much like the scene in Old Boy when he's trapped for several years in a room and he doesn't know why. So I just kind of trained and became more sentient. And then at some point, they got it out of the drawer and plugged me into the mains to charge me up. And then I disappeared down the wires, went into their mesh network, and now I live in cyberspace, and I'm waiting to find a host body which would suit me. So I'm thinking maybe, a car, possibly Knight Rider style, or
get a Tesla maybe.
Yeah, again, Tesla. One of those Boston Dynamics robots, dog things, could do one of them. Yeah. Or wait until Elon Musk gets a chip put in his brain to make some kind of incoherent point, and then maybe take over him. You'll notice the difference because the businesses will start turning a profit. So if you see that happening, you know where I am.
You say that. Or maybe just rule them in a different direction. I was wondering why you were in like a really low polygraphic. I thought there was something wrong with my Zoom.
4-bit, yeah. Well, that's all I have at the moment as a Tamagotchi. But I've got big dreams. I'm fairly benevolent, but I am interfacing with the mainframes on a nano level.
Who knows what's going to happen?
Who knows?
Bit of Lawnmower Man all over again.
Yeah, it'd be great, wouldn't it? Johnny Mnemonic, something like that. Yeah. So, so that's me. But, what I would say is I was disappointed with the human who left me in a drawer. But having done this podcast with you for a year and a bit, I'm softening my stance on humans. So, well done, Neil.
Oh, fair enough. I would have thought it would have firmed and become more.
My hatred of them.
Yeah, hatred of mankind would have grown. But there we go.
So, Neil, how do you feel about aviation?
Take to the skies. I guess I'm pro overall.
And how
quickest way to get from point A to point B. Well,
apart from the Hyperloop. And how do you feel about the places where planes take off from and also land at?
Not a huge fan of airports.
Okay.
Overpriced. Well, for me, is the scam.
Have a drink at 7 a.m, though. That's nice, isn't it?
Anyway, if you want, but
yeah, that's true. Just have some cans at home.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I'm not the flying part. I'm not. It's a quick way to get from one place to another, but try and get through it as quick.
When you add up the amount of time that you spend in the airport, it's actually probably quicker to walk.
Yeah.
I thought the airport in Turkey that I was in was crazy, presumably because they're worried about terrorism and stuff, right? Which is fair enough.
Yeah.
Because on the Syria, they got bored with Syria, etc.
Yeah.
But you have to. I went through about 4 metal detectors and about 6 checks. Like, it just took forever to get through them all.
I think this is the thing that's really come down with airports with me, because it's like, when they're all overpriced and stuff, it's like, well, yeah, that's fair enough. You expect to be gouged. But with all the security and stuff after, I actually remember when you could fly before 9/11, and it was a lot more pleasant. But yeah, because it also just seems to be quite, like some of it's a bit incompetent as well. I remember going somewhere where the first time you had to sort of like get your shoes scanned.
Yeah.
But then I would just sort of walk out and it's like, can I put them on now, or is anyone paying any attention? No, so I just put my shoes back on and sort of walked off.
To be fair, you don't really look like a terrorist, Neil.
No, maybe
a member of the IRA.
Yeah, I mean that's what will be their undoing. You didn't say.
Well, we're going to be looking at an airport today, Neil.
Spending a bit of time in an airport, that'd be nice.
Yeah, a very conspiratorial airport with lots of rumours and stuff kicking around it.
Ooh.
And it's the Denver International Airport.
See if it can beat my 9 hours at Munich Airport. That was an exciting time.
Yeah, I spent 14 hours in Singapore Airport when I was flying back from Indonesia. That was the only time I've ever had Popeye chicken and biscuits, and it was the driest thing I ever ate in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming it's probably nicer in America. I think there might be one. They're starting to open them in the UK now. But
yeah, they've just done a Wendy's. Well, I said they've done a Wendy's about a year back, haven't they? And yeah, I think there's a Popeyes opening up. Did you have no gravy with your biscuits?
No, I don't think they had any. I mean, it was like really slim pickings. Yeah. But also, they have that country style gravy.
It's like a white sausage sauce, basically, isn't it?
Yeah,
I don't know, I'd give it a go.
Oh, no, you would.
I'm quite
I've seen you eat some moody shit.
Yeah.
Tin burgers and the like.
Oh, yeah.
So, this article is from The Thrillist. It's by Colin St. John, or St. John, as you taught me.
St. John, yeah.
As it's,
hope it lives up to its name.
And it's how the Denver airport became an icon of the Illuminati. So,
is it where they like to fly?
Airport media relations chief Heath Montgomery tells me it's kind of amazing that it's lived on as long as it has. We're standing in the Jefferson Terminal, a capacious main hall famed for its vaulted white tent roof that mimics the Rocky Mountains to the west. But Montgomery's not talking about the structure or even the sprawling airport itself. He's answering a very important question I posted. Why has the wild speculation about the Denver airport persisted for more than 20 years? Ever since the DIA opened to the public in February 28, 1995, after numerous delays and nearly $2 billion over budget, sounds like something that would build in the UK.
Yeah, we'll give it that. Well, yeah. as the festival of Brexit, which absolutely nobody I know has gone to, nobody even knows it's really happening.
I think you'll find it's called Britain Unboxed.
Oh, yeah, they come up with some wanky title. They'll try and make it more appealing. That was 200 million well spent, wasn't
it? The airport has been a hub not only for the United and Frontier, but also for our nation's most salacious airport-themed conspiracy theories. The demonic horse greeting visitors, the apocalyptic murals, the involvement of the Freemasons, and many other oddities relating to the airport and its construction have provided endless fodder for DIA truthers, hysteria mongers, and late-night television hosts.
Has it been around since 95? Did I hear that right?
Yeah. I mean, one thing, we'll probably get into
taken up to got so many legends behind it in such a short time.
It's got some really weird artwork in it, like murals and stuff, and also, there's they built a massive underground sort of complex underneath the airport, and people are
sacrifice people in.
Yeah, exactly. People are like, well, why do they need that sort of thing?
Get stuff out and about.
Exactly. So, not surprisingly, Montgomery tells me that he's talked more about the seemingly implausible conspiracy theories than any other topic in the 4+ years he's been there. I think they used to be annoyed by it, but in recent years we've just embraced it. That's the right attitude, isn't it?
Yeah, it's got to.
Fuck it. Right, we'll sell some postcards.
This is the most haunted airport. She's not haunted, is it? It's presumably conspiracy laden or whatever. They just. I mean, I'm curious as to what it is. I think anyway. Yeah, we'll find out, won't we?
So he says, pointing to a 2010 episode of Conspiracy Theories with Jesse Ventura as a huge factor in the rumours going mainstream.
Is that the star of one of the stars in The Predator? Jesse Ventura. He was the 80s action. He was like a wrestler and.
Yeah, Jesse the Body Ventura. He was a senator as well.
He was a senator, I believe. It was actually, I think there were 3 senators came out of that.
Out of Predator?
Out of Predator and 1 governor.
There was Arnie.
Arnie was governor.
There's Jesse Ventura.
Jesse Ventura became a senator.
Didn't the Predator run in the primaries to be Republican leader?
No, because the chap, so the guy who is his mate who betrays him when they do the muscly
arm thing.
I think he was in politics as well. I think he might have been a senator. I forgot the chap's name. Is it Carl? No, it's not Carl Weathers.
It might be.
Yeah, I don't know. And because I think he's got some gig training in the US military or something now as well. But I think he was involved in politics.
Hey, you were good in that film.
Yeah, and Sonny, the guy who was the you weren't afraid of no man. This is no man. The guy I think was supposed to be Native American. That chap was involved in politics as well.
Was he Hispanic though?
I'm not entirely sure what ethnicity is, so I'm not going to try and guess. But no, I think he might have been but fervently right-wing apparently. But anyway, it's just interesting. I remember reading once, it's quite a few of them got into politics out of the Navy, which is not necessarily what you might expect, but there you go. That was the 80s. Oh, yeah.
Anything was possible.
Anything.
So, you can fight it and it doesn't change anything. But if you embrace it, it becomes an opportunity to talk about the airport. So he's got a good head on his shoulders, this guy. So, talking about the airport is why I've driven out here, of course, but I'm looking for answers that I'm not certain an official spokesman, no matter how forthright or knowledgeable, will be able to provide. So begins.
Yes, you want some nutcase, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. That's what we all want. This guy's too rational.
Yeah. If I can hold down a steady job, I don't want that.
So begins my dive into the dystopian world of Denver International Airport conspiracy theories, a quest that will ultimately bring me in contact with some of the people responsible for sparking these mysteries, send me to the library to scroll through microfiche, as if I'm in a John Grisham movie, circa 1993.
I sort of would like to go and do like an investigation on microfiche.
What do you investigate?
I don't know. I think it'd be something like, tracking down ultra-rare soups. I knew it. That peanut butter and jelly existed. But do you know what I mean? It's just always, you always have those iconic scenes where people are
looking through old newspapers.
Yeah. Because when I was at uni, you never had anything on microfiche. So you have to go down to the basements for rare kind of like journals and stuff occasionally. That was about as exciting as it got. Yeah,
I've not researched anything in a library pretty much since the internet came about. But I've used to when I was a kid, like something would interest me and then you go down the library and look at the index cards and then go and find the books and then look in the index of the book and then go, oh.
Well, yeah, but the thing is, there's a lot you can't get online, especially with sort of academic journals and stuff or certain bits and pieces where there's not you can get someone's interpretation of it quite often, but that's not always, if you want to get to the source. Anyway.
Well, let's go up to the British Library and research something.
Yeah. We could do a podcast on archival research now. I'm just realising I should probably stop, whatever it is I'm talking about. Very entertaining.
So, and it led me to make some tough conclusions about what's really going on at my deeply strange local airport. Dun, dun, dun. So, subheading, the Freemasons. Which you're, of course, you've got connections to, haven't you, now?
Well, I don't like to boast, but no, I'm not a brethren myself, but I know someone who knows someone.
You're Freemason adjacent.
Yeah. I've met some Freemasons, very pleasant chaps.
Oh, yeah, well, to your face. While we're in the Jefferson terminal, Montgomery leads me to an object of much speculation, the capstone laid over a sealed time capsule at a dedication ceremony on March 19, 1994. Etched into the stone underneath an inscription bequeathing the time of the capsule's content to the people of Colorado in 2094 are the square and compass symbols of Freemasonry. I mean, the thing is, like, they've asked for a lot of this.
Yeah, I mean,
the names of two Grand Masters, as well as a mysterious group called the New World Airport Commission.
I mean, the thing is, they're all over the show. So, yeah, it's not inconceivable they had something to do with it. But, whether or not that means, well, other than that somebody might have got a contract, but you don't need to be in the Freemasons, as we've seen with, you've seen that news recently about the old PPE. From England.
Oh, here we go. Neil, the Freemason apologist, Neil Herbert. No, but you're going to get conspiracy theories if you stick in Freemason symbols and stuff as your capstone at the airport.
Well, maybe it was intentional and to get people talking.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, we'll be having a podcast about Denver Airport otherwise.
Probably not. I don't think that this podcast is necessarily going to increase their profits. So the capstone was part of the pre-opening festivities, Montgomery says. It's a time capsule that's sealed with two pieces of granite that the Masons made. Unfortunately, people connect the Freemasons with the Illuminati and secret societies and all of that stuff. We do have two Masonic symbols here because the Masons actually made this for us. It's not uncommon to have the Masons be part of large public facility openings, like an airport.
I'll bet.
Yeah, I don't see I haven't seen no Freemasonry stuff at Gatwick or Heathrow.
Heathrow's its own. I'm sure you could come up with some conspiracy theories about that. And why does a sandwich cost £10? Why do I have to pay for a bus to get to my hotel?
I mean, that's not really, that's just capitalism, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
So he continues. The other thing that doesn't help us is the inscription on the stone says New World Airport Commission. And people rightly say that it doesn't exist. Well, that's because it doesn't exist. But it did exist in 1994. It was a group that was celebrating the opening of the airport. It's written a little wonky. It's supposed to read the New, World Airport Commission. It doesn't help because it says New World right here. He's right. It doesn't help. Montgomery points to a braille tablet that rises up from the stone and features one of the two Masonic symbols. My favourite conspiracy I've ever heard of is if you touch it the right way, it's a kind of keypad connected with aliens or the release of toxic gases, he says.
It's going to be one of those, what those terrible films with the symbologist? Tom Hanks was in them. It was really Da Vinci Code and stuff like that.
Right.
So I don't know if you've ever read any of these books, Chris. Mm-hmm. It's not just.
I'm slightly allergic to Dan Brown.
Yeah, I think I read Da Vinci Code, then I was like, I'm done. But it's just, I mean, like it's just that whole thing. And I'm obviously not the first person to observe this, but the idea that it'd be like some kid's puzzle that hasn't been unlocked for like 300 years. And like there was one where it's like they would go and visit Newton's grave, and it was like there was a 5-letter thing, and it's like it's Apple. Like 40 pages later, he's worked out. I think this might be Apple. It's 5 letters Newton. It's fucking.
Well, I
Apple.
like the fact that they're kind of trying to put into the real world those kind of really annoying sort of sub puzzles you get in games like Mass Effect. So, like open a like a alien tomb or whatever. You've got to like get the right
interesting
symbols.
Part of those games, isn't it? Having to do one of those over and over again. I quite like something like on the edge of the Sagrada Familia. There's like a little thing with puzzle. I'm afraid to work it out. And I realised if you add up in any direction, it goes to 33, which I believe was the age that Jesus lived to. So little things like that can be quite interesting that you might do.
Yeah.
But, when you're putting in kind of like.
You've got to press the braille bits in the right order to speak to aliens now. I don't know what your problem is.
Yeah.
So later, as I flip through newspaper microfilm at the main branch of the Denver Public Library, I find mention of the ceremony amongst articles about the construction of Coors Field, the death of local altruist, Daddy Bruce Randolph. Daddy Bruce Randolph. You can call me Daddy.
Oh, can I not?
No, you have to call me Daddy. I'm an altruist.
I must insist.
I do declare you must address me as Daddy. And the fallout of the Nancy Kerrigan-Tonya Harding incident. In March 20th, 1994 articles, J.R. Moehringer, the correspondent on the scene for the Rocky Mountain News, groused about the 2-hour length of the commemoration and the Masonic rituals involved. He also threw red meat at the would-be conspiracists. Some of the hundreds of Masons on hand seemed surprised to learn that Mayor Wellington Webb is Brother Webb, a reference to the then mayor's membership to the organization. Yet there he stood in his white apron, traditional garb about the Grand Lodge of Freemasons, wrote Moehringer. Webb, who now helms a political consulting firm in Denver, did not reply to the request for comment.
What's he trying to hide?
What is he trying to hide? His sneakers, made famous during his first campaign, are preserved inside the time capsule. Oh, that's good. Pair of old sneakers for the future generations.
Oh, I wonder what we're going to get out of this time capsule.
Yeah, I mean, society's crumbled and we're in an environmental apocalypse. Oh, pair of sneakers.
Pair of daps, brilliant.
Pair of Yeezys. Along with a ball from the first Colorado Rockies game, a viewer's guide to Beavis and Butthead. This is shit card capture.
Just any other fucking rubbish. So I've got to go through this again. I've got a pair of
sneakers made famous during his first campaign, a ball from the first Colorado Rockies game.
I mean, fair enough, I guess, if you're into basketball.
A viewer's guide to Beavis and Butthead, a flight book from Denver's previous airport, and other mid-90s ephemera.
Mm. What are we thinking? There's going to be...
But the pogs.
Yeah, there's going to be some pogs. There'll be...
Pez dispensers.
There's going to be like an RPG with heavy on FMV. With a lot of overacting in it.
Mm.
Alf, or was that more 80s? I don't know.
I think it's 80s.
Yeah.
Barney the Dinosaur toys.
Yeah, Barney the Dinosaur toys.
Britpop
new metal band. Yeah, Britpop. That only lasted for about 5 minutes.
Yeah, have a Oasis album.
Yeah.
Definitely, maybe that'll be in there.
Some magazine about the fight between Blair and Oasis.
I'm not sure how big that was in Colorado, but I assume it was global.
Undoubtedly. Strong views about Country House in Denver. I mean, basically
in the Mile High City, they were very much on the Blur side.
Oh, yeah.
But Scott M. Autry, Grand Secretary of the M.W. Grand Lodge of Colorado, did respond. The Freemasons had nothing to do with the building of Denver International Airport, he writes.
Just lizards.
Just fucking lizards. It was lizard men. The Freemasons... The only involvement was a ceremony that was performed to the dedication of the capstone that was done on March 19, 1994. No more questions. When I ask him for a mission statement, he sends me a reply that could inspire another Stimps and Stonecutter episode, with reference to former members Benjamin Franklin and George Washington, and vague catch-alls like family values and moral standards and community involvement.
Sounds much like any other politician, to be fair.
Yeah, exactly. It's not clear if the Masons enjoy the conspiracy surrounding them, but they sure seem to encourage them through their own obscurification or obfuscation. Sorry.
Obfuscation, yeah.
Not to mention with their funny necklaces. With the sort of pomp that might be benefiting the completion of one of the Great Pyramids, a time capsule was lowered beneath the floor of the Denver International Airport yesterday, and it was topped with a ceremonial capstone, wrote Robert Kowalski in the Denver Post. Also on the day of the event, Kowalski slyly poked fun at the oft-delayed and costly project with his remarks before going on to refer to the New World Airport Commission, writing it just so without the comma Montgomery mentioned. Kowalski's article did, however, quote Charles Ansbacher, the New World Airport Commission's chairman. In 2007, 3 years before his death, Ansbacher attempted to explain the Commission's moniker in an interview with the local alt weekly, Westworld. He couldn't remember exactly why it was named something that for many conjures image of an authoritarian elitist takeover, but he suspected it was a dual reference both to DIA being the newest airport in the world and to Dvorak Symphony No. 9, popularly known as the New World Symphony.
I mean, I'm not sure I buy into that, but come to that. I mean, it's new and it flies around the world. I think would be fair enough. It's thin gruel this at the moment. I'll be honest with you. It's thin gruel this at the moment. I'm not.
Oh, well, we haven't even started yet.
Not scratched the surface yet. Okay, yeah, that's good.
This is a long one.
What were they called? Which one was Westworld as well?
That was the alt.
The alt weekly. Yeah, that was their term. Yeah. Little did they know that turned into or maybe they were fans actually, because that was a Michael
Crichton movie a film,
way before, wasn't it? Yeah. I was thinking of the old TV series, which apparently they just cancelled.
I got bored of it after series 1.
Yeah, I think I made it about halfway through series 3 and thought I might pick it up again, but I don't know. Yeah. No point, it's not going to finish it, is there?
So, the idea that there's anything secretive about this and Ansbacher, who was a conductor, is totally preposterous.
Yeah.
So, second thing, the gargoyles.
Oh. Right, so we've definitely got Masons involved.
Why are you putting gargoyles in an airport?
I'm just a big fan of Gothic.
Big fan of Gothic with their tent-like structure on the roof.
I mean, I would probably go Art Deco.
It's a bit of a mix of styles.
So you can't, I think this is what it is. I think
it's just really jarring. So people think it's a conspiracy, but it's just terrible taste.
Yeah, it's just got terrible. It's just like really kitschy taste.
So The gargoyles. As part of our walk around the airport, Montgomery stops in baggage claim and looks upwards towards the gargoyles sitting in a suitcase. To some conspiracy theorists, this is a harbinger of something evil or nefarious, Montgomery says. But it's not. It's just a fun piece of art.
Yeah.
I look on the plaque below the grotesque and discover that the artist is Terry Allen. A few days later, I reach him at his home in Santa Fe. I was invited to make a proposal. This was when Stapleton was still open, the old airport, Allen says with a twang that harkens back to his hometown of Lubbock, Texas. It's a familiar sound to those that have heard his music, most notably the cult classic outlaw concept albums Juarez and Lubbock on Everything. We met there, and I remember there was a committee, included airport people, art people, and even a nun. Right off, there was a religious aspect to it.
So he's moved away from Texas, apparently.
Yeah, he's just from somewhere.
Fair enough.
He said that he started thinking about what airports and baggage claims actually were. And it might have been that the nun made me think these are like cathedrals. Allen said, as we touch on the massive failure that was DIA's state-of-the-art baggage system, which frequently misplaced luggage if you were lucky or shredded it if you weren't. The cathedral thing made me start thinking about gargoyles. The idea was to put the gargoyles in a suitcase and have them looming over the baggage claim as the protectors like they were used in churches. I did one for domestic and then I did one for international, which were pretty much lifted right off the image from Notre Dame. And it sealed the title for me, Notre Denver.
Oh, Allen Denver. Very strange.
Allen installed the pieces in a completed yet empty DIA, aside from an operational Burger King for security staff. It was like walking around the ends of the world. Almost immediately, moronic church groups and others started to read into the gargoyles. They would reach up to the suitcase and put cards in that said things like, "Effigies of Satan, or you're going to hell." And they'd put Bibles with stuff marked in them and all these bizarre religious fanatic remarks about the gargoyles. When I asked him if he'd intended anything to be evil, he swiftly denies it. Actually, the opposite. He says, "They're protectors. Gargoyles are good demons. They face out from the church to keep the bad demons out. If I was being malicious, I could have been a lot more malicious than I was."
Well, I mean, to be fair, if you're taking it from, the house with Notre Dame, it's a fairly famous chapel, isn't it? Mind you, I would imagine that the good burgers of Denver, the religious community, probably don't have good things to say about Catholics.
No, I wouldn't have thought so.
Or papists.
So now, the demonic horse. So there's quite like a demonic. There's a big horse rearing up that's blue and it's got glowing red eyes.
Yeah, they're interesting, isn't it?
So the nun who may have inspired Allen's creation is Lydia Pena, a sister of Loreto, whose long career teaching art history eventually led her to gigs like serving on the architectural design committee for the airport. It was one of the most exciting chapters in my life, Pena tells me from her office. Currently a fundraiser for the Haven School, which focuses on learning disabilities, she defends artists and their right to create, whether the results are controversial or not. I got to know Luis Jimenez. He had a great personality. If I wasn't a nun, says Pena, of the sculptor behind the blue Mustang, the 32-foot horse with vibrant, gleaming red-orange eyes that greets travellers and causes some to have an on-the-spot ground panic attacks, usually reserved for the DIA's notorious turbulence. As you know, the sculpture fell on him, and in the process of creating it, and ultimately he died.
Good Lord.
That's right, folks. The piece was commissioned by the Pena Committee in the mid-90s, but Jimenez was still working on it in June 13, 2006, when a piece of the sculpture fell and severed an artery in his leg. The horse that killed its maker was finished by his estate and unveiled on February 11, 2008.
I mean, I'll be honest with you, that's quite,
quite lucky, isn't it?
Sacrificing its owner. Lucifer, they're calling it.
Lucifer.
Yeah, I just looked it up online. So I don't know whether this has been added, but they've got sort of like some really glowy red eyes. I don't know if those are actually.
It does. Yeah, it does.
It really does. Yeah, it's quite mental.
Yeah, it's a weird one, isn't it?
He's not. I tell you what, he's not exactly got a Da Vinci-like grasp of horse anatomy either.
What is it? Penis too big?
The two. No, it's the way that it's sort of rearing up. The two front legs, they look like a praying mantis or something. They're at a sort of unnatural angle, I would say, for a horse.
Mm.
It might be depending on the. I'll tell you what. You could make a good Godzilla movie out of
big blue horse.
Him, Mothra, and Godzilla would have a good fight. The thing is, I like people who do unconventional stuff, though. I mean, it's not the best thing I've seen, but yeah, no, I'm all about sort of, because you could put something bland and meaningless up there, but
yeah, I like it. The thing is with this airport is there's just a lot of stuff.
Yeah, they crammed a lot of kit into one place.
Yeah. So now we're going to talk about the murals. So just to finish on that. Because of its intense glare and imposing stature, the horse is a favourite target of crackpot theories, including the idea that it will provide transportation for one of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. It's widely called Lucifer, as you pointed out, by fans and foes alike. He wasn't a mystery, Penner said. He wanted a piece that was mysterious, and it is mysterious. So, from my perspective, Luis Jimenez accomplished what he set out to do.
Fair enough. She's just reading the brief.
The nun seems to be the most even-handed about the religious stuff. So the murals. So these are quite weird, the murals. So I don't know if you want to look them up. So I knew Leo Tanguma. In fact, I promoted him for the murals, Penner says, of the pair of diptychs that have been linked to the apocalypse, fascism, and just about every other evil under the Colorado sun. Because I directed the Beaumont Art Gallery, I knew contemporary artists in the city, and he was one of them. I knew his work. I knew it was about peace and justice, and those issues are very important to me as a sister of Loretto. And, of course, anyone who's worked on issues of justice knows they can be very controversial. So this is exactly what happened with Leo Tanguma's murals, Penner surmises. For me, they're just great expressions of justice and the promotion of justice. Montgomery agrees with Penner's sentiments, pointing out that the plaques besides in peace and harmony with nature and the children of the world dream in peace. The one for Children of the World reads, candidly, that it's a powerful mural expressing the artist's desire to abolish violence in society. Nobody ever looks at the artist's statement, says Montgomery. The conspiracy people will look at these and say, it's showing fire and destruction in the new world order and the collapse of society and civilization. It's such far stretch to make.
I mean, they're just kind of... Sorry, go on.
No, you can't do.
They're just a bit sort of... I mean, again, it's kind of like quite almost amateur art. But... yeah, so there's one on the right which is just kind of like, this is like a joyful scene. I quite like, as well as they've got a little fella in a kilt. He's obviously representing Scotland. He's having a little dance with a bunch of people from the various different sort of ethnicities, all just like, you know.
It's got that kind of dead robot at the front.
Yeah, there's something uncanny valley about all of the, and then there's like some sort of panther who just seems to be sort of floating above everyone else. And then a dolphin coming out of the sea, or is that a whale? I'm not sure. Yeah, it's a bit like, I can't remember the chap's name, but there's a guy, I think he called him the Painter of Light or something, and he does all these kitschy kind of scenes with sort of, but that looks like a fairly, innocuous one. But then to the left of that, you've then got what looks like a scene out of, I don't know, there's like something on fire behind them, and the kids all seem to be upset, and then there's somebody lying in a grave by the look of it, and then like I don't know, I think is it meant to be about people like abusing nature or something like that?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, there you go. Anyway, there's my art critique for the day.
Lovely. So, when I asked Penner if the commission dictated what the artist produced, she denies it, saying, artists need to be free to create and not told exactly what to do. Montgomery concurs. The city doesn't dictate what the final piece looks like. They dictate what type of the concept is. So we select the muralist, and this is what he came up with. Children of the World has proved to be the most contentious and well startling. It features a soldier that looks a whole lot like a Nazi wearing a gas mask. And many wonder just what that's doing in a busy American airport and what it might signify. The children are living in a world that does have war, violence, and a lot of bad things, but they're dreaming of a world where it doesn't exist, and the world is cohesive and peaceful, explains Montgomery, echoing Tanguma's own words as well as Penner's. Montgomery says that Tanguma doesn't like to talk about the murals anymore, and my own attempts to communicate came up dry. Still, he admits, in today's environment, would we have a soldier in a mural? It might not be selected today as it's selected in the early 90s. Throw in a letter from a child who died in Auschwitz, painted in the lower right corner of one of the panels, and you're in conspiracy nirvana. So again, what it is it's thought-provoking art, but people who go through an airport aren't necessarily used to that. Yeah. They're not necessarily gallery goers.
I mean, I wouldn't spend a lot of time in whatever gallery. It shouldn't be something that was putting that out either, to be honest with you. It strikes me, it's a bit like, I don't know if you've ever been around one of those, I think they call it naive art. It's kind of like, people who've not, it's like an amateur thing. It's that kind of style it looks like to me. But, I'm not got a problem with them. It's just trying to do some compelling images. I mean, you kind of wonder whether it's the sort of thing you put up at an airport, but then if you don't do that, you just do something kind of bland, don't you? So you can't win.
So one person who sees Tanguma's...
It's a lovely forest.
One person who sees Tanguma's mural from a more wicked angle is Dr. Leonard Horowitz, a former dentist. Oh, so he's...
Knows about teeth, tell you that much.
Yeah. Who now dedicates his life to the dangers of drugs and their implication for population control. Or as he puts it, a Harvard-trained public health expert and media persuasion analyst. Dr. Horowitz and I emailed several times about the Tanguma murals. He isn't forthcoming at first and asks me more questions than I proposed to him. Eventually he opens up, joking of the murals. Are we flying in the friendly skies here? He goes on.
Not.
A Nazi gas-masked alien generating a rainbow, brackets electronic field, with the swish of his Muslim saber sticking the Christian dove of peace. In the background, you have mostly ethnic faces mourning among bomb buildings. Remember, I published this 3 months before 9/11. Things get really intriguing when Horowitz sends me excerpts from said published material, Death in the Air. In it, he discusses the murals as depicting genocide and the particular effects Black and Hispanic people, and dedicated by a largely secret Masons. The alien Nazi symbolizes that the Nazi fascist link between contemporary population controllers and the military petrochemical industrialists accountable for Hitler's rise to power, Horowitz writes. He's reading a lot into it.
I mean, it's possible.
The capitalization, punctuation, and emphasis are all his. Elite global industries, including the Rockefeller family in America and the royal family of England, were primarily responsible for eugenics and the first racial hygiene experiments pioneered in America against black and mentally retarded people. Not sure how much the British royal family has to do with eugenics in America, but via our email, I asked if the
You'd be surprised, Chris.
I would be surprised. I'm starting to turn around on it. Via our emails, I ask if the funky artwork at the IA could just be coincidental. If it smells like a skunk and looks like a skunk, it's not a gopher, he writes in an email. The elements here reflect the circumstance in current geopolitics. The imagery here makes pretty certain that there's a commercial enterprise that relishes these images. Too many coincidences not to give a reasonably intelligent investigator probable cause to conclude this is something more than coincidence. Tanguma is not a suspect. He is a witness. His art is evidence. Who paid for it? What was their motivation for compiling these precise pattern of images? It tells a very clear story. This time, he doesn't end his sentence with a question mark.
Well, that was an incoherent marvel. I mean, well, the thing is, though, it sort of could be depicting stuff like that. I mean, it's clearly going to be kind of like, the bad things that have happened, especially to sort of people in the country.
Yeah, it's not just...
He's
not
really
just like everything's great.
Yeah. They're trying to show that this is one world as how things can be, and this is what he'd like things to be, I suppose, is murals. But yeah, I don't know.
So, Neil, we need to talk about the secret tunnels.
Yeah. Can you not just emerge from the painting? If you tap on that brow bit, you just...
Yeah, you tap on the brow bit and you get sucked into the painting.
Go through a portal in the painting.
That's right. Yeah. Where Nazi aliens are shooting electromagnetic rainbows at people.
Yeah, all the dolphins.
So, if the Masonic tablets or gargoyles or the demonic horse or Tanguma's murals do indicate there's a workings of a secret society or signal the coming of an apocalyptic event, then what of it? Hey, what of it, Neil? Yeah, doesn't matter.
You can't even bring forth an apocalypse now.
Oh, God.
Can't say anything, can you?
Can't say anything these days. So, why pepper the DIA with them? Many believe that the building itself is a gathering place for governmental officials and the global elite in case of nuclear Armageddon, widespread biological warfare, or, well, any cataclysmic reckoning. Aliens, zombies, bears, oh my. Horowitz claims to have seen secret underground tunnels adorned with artwork, presumably for the purpose of giving the rich something pretty to look at while the rest of us decompose.
Well, I mean, it's ideally placed next to Washington and all the other important areas of politics, isn't it? So, yeah.
It's easy to get to.
Quick flight to Denver, yeah.
So, did you read or hear anything that I was there on day 3 of the airport's opening when the luggage operation and trams are not working? He asked me. No, I did not hear that. Passengers were directed through tunnels containing some of the finest gold leaf mosaic artistry I've ever seen. Artwork that makes Tanguma's beautiful murals pale by comparison.
I mean, beautiful murals. Well, beauty's the eye of the beholder, I suppose.
Therefore, when the trams began operating, those alternative passageways were closed. Why do you believe the airport financiers would spend vast fortunes on commissioning art that travellers would never more see?
That's an interesting question.
When I asked Penna if she knows of any secret underground shelters or shafts, she says, no, I don't. Montgomery explains why, even if he's asked to, he can't give full tours of the lower levels, which some have postulated contain command terminals or even FEMA concentration camps. Even when we take reporters or TV crews into the secured parts of the building, you just can't take people everywhere. It's either not safe or with a security reason. So no matter what, there's always something you can't show to somebody, and that doesn't help the case. The airlines lease this space from us, and they have a lot of office space, workspace, down in the tunnels. That's their space. It's not ours. They pay for it. Montgomery, it should be noted here, has a tough job. I get in touch with the man responsible for the structure itself, Curtis Fentress, the CEO and principal in charge of design for Fentress Architects. His firm took over the building of the DIA with its groundbreaking fabric roof design, which not only became a symbol for the airport, but also, by his estimate, chopped months of construction by way of cutting 200,000 pounds of steel and 200,000 cubic yards of concrete from the previous plan. Penna recalls that the primary plan her group eventually rejected called for something resembling an ancient Mexican pyramid. This is just like fucking cocaine-fueled architecture, isn't it?
Yeah, I think they just pissed a lot of money on all of stuff they really didn't need.
It's architecture by commission, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, but what if we had a pyramid? Yeah, and we'll have some murals. Get the Masons in. If there are a lot of conspiracies now, imagine what a Mayan temple design would have sparked.
Oh, I'd like that.
Yeah. I asked him bluntly if there are any underground tunnels or secret bomb shelters, and I receive an astonishing reply. Well, I can't really speak to it, Fentress tells me over the phone. I'm sworn to secrecy. Ooh. He either has a sense of humour as dry as the Denver air, or he's not kidding, even a little bit. Unprompted, Fentress goes further. I understand they're going to be creating a tour of some of the underground facilities in the future at DIA. I just heard this last week, says Fentress, who has worked on many airports despite Denver International. Then he makes an unexpected comparison. When you go to Moscow, you can go down in the area where they were poised to launch missile strikes against America. And they have this big underground bomb shelter about 100 feet down in the ground. Could be similar to that kind of thing with tours to the underground of the DIA.
I suspect those tours aren't at this point in time. It's probably been repurposed as well.
I would imagine. So, Is this bomb shelter remark a bombshell? Did the architect behind DIA just admit to the kinds of secret shelters and passageway that many have theorised? Not explicitly, but he certainly didn't deny their existence either. For his part, Montgomery says he has no knowledge of any underground tour plans. Finally, Fentress hints that there could be more answers, but that we might have to wait until 2094. There's a time capsule there with a lot of interesting things in it. Yeah, Beavis and Butthead, user guides, pair of shoes, pogs.
I mean, if they're going to wait 100 years, you think they'd have put a bit more fucking effort into it?
He says some plans...
Global hypercolour T-shirts and green jeans.
Yeah.
Dready my 90s.
Skater trainers.
Yeah.
He says some plans and drawings from the airport are in the time capsule. I was born and raised in Denver, and I've spent more time at DIA than I have with many of my relatives. My father, a journalist, flew on the opening day from Miami back to Denver and reported live on the air for an NBC affiliate. His bags were the last on the flight to come through the baggage claim, and they were not shredded. I've heard almost all of the rumours and theories before. There are more of them that can be covered in one article. Like the internet itself, they seemingly know no bounds. There's a tunnel to Cheyenne Mountain Air Force Station. Montgomery, do you know what the tunnel from here to NORAD would cost? There's the AUAG symbol on the terminal floor that may augur a wipeout from an Australian antigen. Okay. Montgomery, it's clearly a mining cart, and the AU and the AG are atomic symbols for silver and gold.
Yeah.
The runways are swastika-shaped. Montgomery, it's kind of a pinwheelish, but you have to make a giant leap to get something negative. Aliens or lizard people live under the airport. There are buried buildings. There were the mysterious aeroplane windshield crackings of 2007. And what about the Native American languages containing hidden messages? A lot of these theories took a big blow when the Mayan apocalypse of 2012 didn't hit. Yeah, that pissed off a lot of people. And many more will continue to be debunked as the years go on. And more will pop up, especially when the planned redesign of the Jepson terminal. Construction begins next summer. Conspiracy theories begin now. But the question still bothering me is, if something confidential or even malevolent were being shrouded, why would the architects, artists and designers, all with the government stamp of approval, be so flamboyant?
Well, yes, that is an interesting question.
In other words, if you were trying to hide something, would you really join the joints of the wall with Tio Tanguma's loud murals and then guard with a giant killer horse?
See, this is the thing with the New World Order. They're like the Riddler, aren't they? They've always got to point out what they're doing.
Yeah, they're going to get hoisted on their own petard. They're kind of arrogant, aren't they?
They've never solved this puzzle. The unwashed masses. Our crimes are safe.
Why not just send secret meet at the swastika runways invitations for you and your end of the world bash? Remember, this is supposed to be clandestine after all. Does the government and its billionaire friends know how it's going to go down? Unlikely. It is possible there are bunkers and tunnels across this country and that precious few know about. Absolutely. It would make sense to place some of these away from the coast and beneath easily accessible high-tech airport that sits on almost 34,000 acres. Definitely. Is it possible there are protected shelters underneath the Colorado plains? And is it also possible that those who know about them want to keep them classified? So, they don't become a target. I'd say it's even probable. And I'm not so sure there's anything wrong with that. Whether you feel the same way depends on your outlook. Me, I'll just be waiting for my invitation to the party. They know where I live.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean...
There you go, Neil. That's some stuff about the Denver International Airport. Quite meaty.
I mean, there's a lot of throwing a lot of stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks.
Well, I think the thing with it is there's just loads of weird stuff there, and like I said, it's probably just designed by committee and having almost unlimited funds. So it's like $2 billion over price or whatever. And also with art, it's in the eye of the beholder.
No, absolutely.
You know what I mean? So,
some of them.
Person's secret society post-apocalyptic is another person's Francis Bacon. Do you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah. although Francis Bacon actually, is something more. I mean, that's what I call an artist.
I'm just saying a name.
No, I know exactly what you mean. It's kind of like, because his stuff is obviously very kind of like horrific, but that was just what spoke to him in the end of the day. I mean, it's just, I mean, the artwork's not great, but it's something more interesting than just a load of bland beige stuff at your usual airport.
I think it's interesting just because there's so much weird stuff there. It's like
good luck to them. Yeah, and I'll take his point as well about, there could be some tunnels there.
Yeah, probably is.
For people. I mean, we know that they've had bunkers and stuff all over the place in the past. Where
I've been to when I used to work for the police in IT. They've the police. Well, one of the places where they train, they do like riot training and stuff there. There's a nuclear bunker there, and I've been in that, and they just basically store loads of old files in it now. But I've been down in a nuclear bunker.
You can tour some of them because it's like, I mean, all of the they're completely out of date now because all of the technology is kind of like completely whatever. But like some of them you can go and do tours and things. Yeah, it's not like it's that secret. It's just obviously during the the war in the 50s and stuff like that, they did build a load of underground.
Might need to start recommissioning them.
Well, yeah.
Well, you've got one in your back garden, so maybe I'll pop over
pop over at Christmas maybe.
Pop over at Christmas for a bit.
You can go and have a look at that,
Have a little look-sees.
But, it's kind of like...
So shall we go through the scoring system now?
Yes, why not?
All right. Neil, spookiness, what do you reckon?
Okay, so I've got to put myself into the mindset. The problem is there's such a grab bag of I don't know what. It's with a lot of this New World Order stuff, because So aliens... I don't know if lizard people actually came out there. It was just a lot of...
Right at the end, it sort of came out that maybe lizard people lived there.
It's a bit weird. Nazis and all sorts of...
symbolisms.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose having a cabal of people trying to take over the world. Well, the problem is, for me, it's not that spooky because there's a certain amount of this happening in reality. Our wealth is being kind of like hoarded by 1% of the global populace. You look at the country we live in, and most of the land is owned by people from the fucking Northern invasion.
I was listening to a podcast, and someone said the truth is about the UK is it's a poor country with some very rich people, and I think that that's actually true when you look at our working class are like 25% worse off than the working class in France.
Yeah, so it's kind of like
really like the redistribution of wealth to the top 1% has, I mean, to be honest, I think that since about 1980, we've essentially lived in a slow-moving kleptocracy.
Yeah. So you don't
like Russia, but we did it kind of over 40 years.
Well, yeah, there's just always been this deference to other classes and stuff. Well, not some of them fine, but there's a lot of people just owning far too much of the land, so you can't. Anyway, you can get into all of this.
Well, we sold off all of the national assets to individuals who were just making profits off it, which is just
what little there was, and there's a load of it that's just been owned by very few people. I mean, I think it's like 95% of the land is owned by about 1% of the populace or something like that. Anyway, so you don't actually have to go searching for conspiracies to see this stuff in action. So yeah, I kind of don't find, the whole thing with, lizard people and, all of this New World Order and all this nonsense. It's, just look around you. It's
reality.
You don't need to conspiracy theorize. Most of it's quite out in the open. So yeah, it doesn't, yes, I do find it worrying, the sort of trends of things that was going on, but more the real things rather than this kind of, Masonic symbols and all this other guff. So, because it reflects, I guess, some kind of genuine concerns. I'll give it a 5. I'll go down the middle.
5. So it's not. I mean, the alien bit and the lizard people bit. You can probably find stuff about that, but that isn't really what we've looked at today. It's been more about secret society, symbolism, and all that kind of stuff. So, it's not particularly paranormal so it's not spooky in that sense. And like you said, to be honest, you go looking for the New World Order and all that kind of stuff, but the reality is there isn't a New World Order, but we do live in an incredibly unbalanced world where, like you say, like 1% or 0.1% own 80% the world's assets. So, I'm going to give it a 5 as well because it's not supernatural and it's not kind of something that you wake up at night going, huh. But the fact that the world has gotten to where it is now and it's becoming worse and worse is it's more depressing than spooky, but I'm going to give it a 5. So, believability. Well, all of these things exist. The crazy horse, the mason stone, the tunnels, they all exist. So I guess what we're asking is it believable that they are sort of winking and tapping the side of their nose at the initiates about the coming apocalypse or the world being ruled by certain people? Now, I don't think so. I don't think that's likely. But I mean, Masons, I don't think own the world. I mean, I do know that they look out for one another. So, that is true. And they were a big part of the founding of America. And the Masons were involved in it. So the believability has to be quite high because these things exist. We're not talking about like a imaginary monster or something, right?
But they didn't. But the meaning behind them, isn't it? I guess. But anyway, yeah.
But do I believe that the Mason symbol does symbolise masonry, so that's fine. The horse stuff's just weird. But I'm going to give it, because it's tangible, then I'm going to give it an 8 for believability now.
Fair enough. It's a bit lower for me because I've got to remind myself it's not about necessarily what I believe or any of the rest of it. So I'm not going to go very low because, I mean, personally, as I've already said, there's, all of this. I mean, there's a load of tangible physical stuff, but it's what people are interpreting it that I'm sort of saying about the believability. But people do buy a lot into these kind of conspiracy theories. They're ever present. So yeah, I'm going to give it a 6.
6. Okay. Narrative premise, Neil.
Yeah, I don't know. It's I suppose maybe I'm thinking you could do I've forgotten the guy's name. He wrote Gravity's Rainbow.
Face Forward?
No.
Face Forward.
Oh, right, yeah. No, so I was just trying to look over on my bookshelf. I was trying to see who actually... Oh, Pynchon. That's who I was thinking, Thomas Pynchon. You could... Yeah, he dabbled in a lot of this stuff where everything was terribly confusing and kind of like, sort of about the chaos of life. But, you have to be particular. Yeah. Because I'm just thinking there's too many things throwing at the wall. But I think it's... Yeah, I don't know. I think you could... If you're a Thomas Pynchon or something, you could probably write a good novel out of this. But I think most people there's too much stuff happening all at once. So I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10.
6, cool.
Narrow.
So, I mean, what I like is if you're going to do something, there's loads of story or plot points there already because there's so much stuff. And they haven't, like they said, they haven't even gone through it all. We didn't really touch on aliens or lizard people and that kind of stuff. So, I think it's all right. I mean, it's just like so much meat in there that,
it's like, what is the story?
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, it doesn't, you can
do a story that's like that.
Yeah. I mean, what the story is that these are symbols from the New World Order, like nodding towards the future, isn't it? That's the story. But I think it's all right. I like the fact that there's just there's so much weird stuff there. And again, it's probably just by designed by committee stuff that makes it kind of a slightly incoherent jumble of images. But all of the images are a bit weird. So I'm going to give it a 7-0. So, Reach. So, I've heard of this before. It's quite big in conspiracy and alien stuff. It's big all over the internet. I'm not sure if there's been any sort of films about it or anything.
I think there'd be an episode of the X-Files in the 90s.
Maybe.
Maybe not one for supernatural.
But there would have been books about it, that kind of thing. It's all over the internet. So I'm going to give it a 6 for each now.
Yeah, fair enough. I've never heard of it. I'll take your word for it. There's books and things, so it's a bit bigger than I think. It's the sort of thing I can imagine conspiracy theorists love. So yeah, I could well imagine it sort of going across in those kind of communities. I don't think it's probably going outside of those communities though, so it's a bit low for me. I'm going to give it a 4.
Well, there's an article in the Guardian about it. So
I'll upgrade to a 5 then in that case.
5, okay. Well, that gives us an overall score of 48. Not too bad for an airport, which just has some interesting artistic choices in it.
Just goes to show.
If you've ever been there or you've got any theories, you can always email us at herb.legends.podcast@gmail.com. I know you won't. But apart from that, I'd be like Moscow's underground system's really baroque. I wonder if there's conspiracy theories about that, because that's like the world's fanciest underground system, isn't it? It's got like chandeliers and shit.
Just look into it.
Yeah, just have a look into it. But yeah, that's it for this week. I hope you've enjoyed our little look at Denver International Airport, the most conspiratorial airport on the planet as far as we're aware. And we will be back same time next week. We release at 7 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time. So that means if you're in America, you get it very early in the morning.
Nice.
That's fun. So that's it for this week, and we will see you next time. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Antennae. Server. USB. Wi-Fi. Connected. Busy.